My beloved brothers and sisters, there comes a point in all of our lives where we are faced with challenges that seem overwhelming. We ask ourselves, why me? Why now? Will I ever see ease again? And at that moment, the whispers of doubt creep into the heart. Shaytan tries to convince us that our prayers are not being heard, that our patience is wasted, that Allah has abandoned us. But I want to remind you today, stop doubting. Believe in Allah during difficult times and everything will change. Allah never promised that life would be without trials. In fact, He told us clearly in the Quran, and we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger, and loss of wealth and lives and fruits. But give glad tidings to the patient. E2 155. These are not punishments, they are part of the journey of faith. Every difficulty you go through is either a means of cleansing your past sins, raising your ranks, or bringing you closer to Allah. Think about it. If life was always smooth, how many of us would actually turn to Allah sincerely? Most of us remember Allah the most in times of hardship. So those moments of difficulty are opportunities, golden chances for us to connect with our Creator. My brothers and sisters, remember that Shaytan thrives on your despair. The moment you begin to doubt Allah's plan, Shaytan celebrates. He whispers, see, your dua is not accepted. Your patience is wasted. Your efforts are useless. But Allah, the most merciful, tells us, indeed with hardship comes ease. 94:6. Notice, He didn't say after hardship, He said with hardship, meaning within your very struggle, there are doors of ease opening, but you need to believe in Him to see them. How many times in your own life have you faced something you thought you could never get through? And yet, here you are today. That alone is proof. Allah carried you then, and He will carry you now. Don't let temporary pain make you forget permanent blessings. One of the most powerful tools we have is dua. Raise your hands, cry if you must. Speak to Allah about everything, even the things you think are small. The Prophet said, supplication is worship. Why? Because when you make dua, you are declaring with your heart that Allah is in control, that He has the power to change your situation instantly. And He does. Sometimes we think, but I've been making dua for so long and nothing has changed. My dear brothers and sisters, understand this. Dua is never wasted. It is either answered immediately, delayed for a better time, diverted to protect you from harm, or stored as reward for the hereafter. Which of these is a loss? None. None. Every dua you make is a gain. But Shaytan wants you to give up right before your breakthrough. Don't fall into his trap. Also, never measure your worth by your struggles. Some of the most beloved to Allah, the prophets themselves, faced the toughest of trial. Does that mean Allah abandoned them? No. Rather, it meant Allah was preparing them for greater missions. Your hardship might be preparing you for growth, wisdom, or a future blessing you cannot yet see. When you believe in Allah during the storm, you will find peace even before the storm passes. That is the gift of Tawakkul, placing your trust fully in Him. It doesn't mean you stop working or trying. No. You do your best, you take every step you can. But your heart rests in the certainty that Allah's plan is always better than your own. Brothers and sisters, when you are tested, remind yourself of three things. This is temporary. No difficulty lasts forever. This is purposeful. Allah is not random. Every hardship carries wisdom. This is a chance for me to rise. My patience, my prayers, my reliance All of it is being written down, and Allah does not let the deeds of the believers go to waste. So don't drown in doubt. Replace it with certainty. Don't let your tongue complain. Replace it with gratitude. Don't let your heart despair. Replace it with hope. And always remind yourself, Allah loves those who trust Him. Allah loves those who turn back to Him. And Allah never abandons a believer. When you keep that faith alive in difficult times, your entire world changes. Your heart becomes stronger, your mind becomes calmer, and your soul becomes more at peace. The problem may still be there, but you are no longer its prisoner, because you know deep down that the one who controls the universe has heard your prayer, and He is already planning something better for you. So I say to you again, stop doubting. Believe in Allah during difficult times, and everything will change. Your faith will transform your outlook. Your patience will attract His mercy, and your dua will open doors you never imagined possible. May Allah grant us steadfastness in times of hardship, certainty in His plan, and relief from every difficulty. One of the greatest misconceptions many people fall into is the belief that life is supposed to be smooth, easy, and without obstacles. They imagine that if Allah loves them, everything will always work in their favor. Doors will open instantly, and no pain will touch their heart. But this is not the reality that Allah has described for us. Nor is it the example set by the prophets who came before us. The truth is, trials are a part of life. They are not a mistake in the system of creation. They are a deliberate and purposeful design of Allah, the Most Wise. From the very beginning of the Quran, Allah makes it clear that human beings will be tested. He says, do people think that they will be left alone because they say, we believe and will not be tested? 29:2. This verse is a reminder that claiming faith is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning. The declaration of belief is like planting a seed, and trials are like the rain, the wind, and the heat that test whether that seed will grow into a strong-rooted tree or whether it will wither away. If you look at it this way, every difficulty you face is actually shaping you, strengthening your faith, and giving you resilience you did not know you had. Look at the lives of the prophets. Peace be upon them all. They live lives free from hardship? Not at all. Prophet Nuh faced rejection from his people for centuries. Prophet Ibrahim was thrown into a fire. Prophet Musa had to confront one of the most tyrannical rulers in history. Prophet Yusuf was betrayed by his own brothers, thrown into a well, sold as a slave, and unjustly imprisoned. And our beloved Prophet Muhammad faced loss after loss, insult after insult, exile from his home, and battles against overwhelming odds. If hardship was a sign of Allah's displeasure, then surely the prophets would have been spared, because they were the most beloved to Allah. But the fact that they were tested so severely is proof that trials are not punishments. They are part of the divine plan for every believer. Why does Allah test us? The wisdom is many. First, trials expose the truth of our faith. It is easy to say, I believe in Allah, when everything is going well. But when things collapse around us, when we lose a loved one, when wealth is taken away, when health deteriorates, then the heart's reality is revealed. Do we still hold on to Allah with patience, or do we turn away in anger? The trial separates lip service from genuine faith. It is like gold being purified in fire. The impurities are burned away so that the gold shines brighter. Second, trials teach us lessons that comfort cannot teach. When life is smooth, we often forget Allah. We rely on ourselves. We think we are in control, and we become arrogant. But when hardship strikes, it humbles us. It brings us to our knees in prayer. It makes us realize how weak we are and how much we depend on Allah for every breath, every heartbeat, every blessing we take for granted. In this way, trials reconnect us to our Creator in the most powerful manner. Third, trials cleanse us of our sins. Every difficulty a believer faces, whether it is an illness, a loss, a heartbreak, or even something as small as a thorn that pricks the skin, wipes away sins if borne with patience. This is from the mercy of Allah. Imagine, the very hardship you are complaining about may be erasing mountains of sins that would have otherwise weighed you down in the hereafter. On the day of judgment, many people will look back at the hardships they endured and wish they had been tested more, because of the immense rewards and forgiveness that came with those trials. Fourth, trials raise our rank with Allah. Sometimes, Allah wants to give a servant a level in paradise that their deeds alone cannot achieve. So He tests them, and when they respond with patience and trust, He elevates them to that special rank. This is why some of the people with the greatest trials will have the highest status in the hereafter. Their patience was not wasted. It was an investment in eternity. Fifth, trials remind us of the temporary nature of this world. When everything goes well, we start to think that this dunya is our permanent home. We get attached to it, we chase it endlessly, and we forget the real purpose of life. But when hardship strikes, we are reminded that nothing here lasts forever, neither joy nor sorrow. That reminder shifts our focus back to the hereafter, where eternal happiness awaits those who endured patiently. My brothers and sisters, the key is not to run from trial, because they are inevitable. The key is to recognize them for what they are, opportunities. Every test is an opportunity to prove your faith, to draw closer to Allah, to have your sins forgiven, to grow in patience, and to secure a higher place in paradise. When you change your perspective in this way, the trial itself does not necessarily become easier, but your heart becomes stronger. And a strong heart can face the heaviest of burdens with calmness and hope. So the next time you face difficulty, remind yourself, this is not random. This is not a sign of Allah's hatred. This is a part of the journey. This is a sign that Allah wants something greater for you. Trials are not in the way, they are the way. And if you bear them with patience, trust, and remembrance of Allah, you will find that they are actually blessings in disguise. When a believer goes through hardship, one of the most dangerous enemies they face is not the problem itself, but the whispers that come with it. Shaytan takes advantage of the moments when a heart is shaken to plant seeds of doubt. He knows that in times of ease, a believer may not listen to him, but when someone is tired, overwhelmed, or desperate, that is when he strikes the hardest. He whispers, "Your prayers are not working. Allah has forgotten you." What is the point of all this patience? And if a person is not careful, these whispers can grow into thoughts. Those thoughts can grow into attitudes, and those attitudes can weaken faith. This is why it is so important to recognize that doubt in Allah during difficulty is not a natural response of the believing heart. It is the attack of Shaytan, who wishes to pull the servant away from their Creator. The Qur'an itself warns us that Shaytan is an open enemy. He vowed to mislead the children of Adam until the day of judgment. He does not rest, and he is not satisfied until he sees a believer lose hope in Allah. When someone falls into despair, Shaytan celebrates, because despair is a barrier between the servant and the mercy of their Lord. Allah tells us never to despair of His mercy, but Shaytan tells us the opposite. He wants us to think that we are too sinful, that our du'as are too weak, that our patience is wasted, and that our situation will never change. His goal is not just to make us sad, His goal is to make us detached from Allah, because once a believer lets go of Allah, they are easy prey for every other temptation. In those moments of weakness, it is essential to remember that doubt itself is not a proof of reality. Just because a whisper enters your heart does not mean it is true. When Shaytan whispers, "You are alone," remind yourself that Allah says, "Indeed, I am with you." When Shaytan whispers, "Your dua is not heard," remind yourself that Allah says, "Call upon me, I will respond to you." When Shaytan whispers, "Your patience is wasted," remind yourself that Allah says, "Indeed, Allah is with the patient." This is how a believer fights back, by replacing the false whispers with the true words of Allah. The more a person entertains the whispers of Shaytan, the heavier their heart becomes. They begin to focus only on what is missing instead of what they still have. They start to see their hardship as endless rather than temporary. They start to interpret every delay as rejection rather than divine timing. Shaytan loves to magnify the problem until it blocks out every sign of hope. But if you step back and look carefully, you will realize that even in your darkest days, Allah is still sending you blessings. The fact that you can still breathe, that you still have Iman, that you still remember Allah, that you are still given the ability to make dua. These are all proofs that Allah has not abandoned. Shaytan wants you to be blind to these gifts so that you drown in negativity. It is also important to remember that doubt is not just about questioning Allah's mercy. Sometimes it comes in the form of impatience. A person thinks, "Why has my situation not changed yet? Why is Allah taking so long?" This impatience is also fueled by Shaytan, because he knows that Allah answers prayers at the perfect time. If he can convince you to give up one day before your relief arrives, then he has succeeded. That is why the Prophet taught us that a person's prayer will be answered as long as they do not give up, saying, "I prayed and prayed, but I was not answered." Giving up is what Shaytan wants. Persevering is what Allah loves. The way to protect oneself from these whispers is through remembrance. The more you remember Allah, the weaker Shaytan becomes. Reciting Quran, making daika, saying astaghfirullah, and sending blessings upon the Prophet are like weapons against him. When your heart is filled with the words of Allah, there is less space for the whispers of doubt. When your tongue is busy with dhikr, it cannot be busy with complaints. When your mind is occupied with gratitude, it cannot be occupied with despair. This is why remembrance is not just an act of worship. It is a shield for the believer's heart. One of the most beautiful truths to hold on to is that Allah is closer to you than you realize, and Shaytan is weaker than he pretends. Allah has guaranteed that Shaytan has no authority over those who put their trust in him. So even if the whispers come, they cannot control you unless you allow them to. If you choose to push them away with istighfar, with patience, with trust in Allah, then those whispers will pass like clouds. But if you sit with them, repeat them, and believe them, they will grow heavy like a storm. The choice lies with the believer. So whenever doubt creeps into your heart during hardship, know its source. It is not coming from Allah. It is not coming from the truth. It is coming from the enemy who promised to mislead you. Recognizing this fact is half the battle. The other half is turning immediately back to Allah, saying, "O Allah, protect me from the whispers of Shaytan. O Allah, increase me in certainty and trust in you." With every sincere plea, the darkness of doubt fades and the light of faith shines brighter. Trials are meant to bring you closer to Allah, but Shaytan tries to use them to pull you away. Do not let him succeed. Every time he whispers doubt, respond with faith. Every time he suggests despair, respond with hope. Every time he tempts you to give up, respond with patience. The believer who fights doubt with faith will not only survive their hardship, but will emerge from it stronger, with a heart that is more attached to Allah than before. When life becomes heavy and hardships surround a person, it is easy to forget the blessings that came before. The human heart, by its nature, tends to focus on what is missing in the present, rather than what has already been given. This forgetfulness is one of the tricks of Shaytan, because if you were to remember your past blessings, you would immediately realize that the one who carried you through yesterday is the same one who will carry you through today. Reflecting on past blessings is not just about being grateful for what once happened. It is about reminding yourself that Allah has always been there, guiding, protecting, and providing, even when you did not notice it. Think about the countless times in your life when you thought you would not make it, yet you did. There were days when you felt completely broken, when you could not see a way forward, when you thought the pain would never end. Yet here you are, alive, still standing, still breathing, still able to turn to Allah. That's proof. Proof that Allah never left you. Proof that your hardships did not destroy you. Proof that His mercy covered you in ways you did not even understand at the time. If you survive those moments, why do you now doubt that you will survive the current one? So many of the blessings you enjoy today were once things you desperately prayed for. Perhaps you asked Allah for health and He granted you recovery. Perhaps you asked Allah for a job and He provided you with one. Perhaps you asked Allah for peace after a storm and He sent you calmness. Do not let today's pain erase the memory of yesterday's answered prayers. Remembering them strengthens your faith because it proves that Allah heard you before and He will hear you again. The heart that reflects on the past becomes hopeful for the future because the pattern is clear. Allah has always been there. It is also worth reflecting on the countless blessings you never even asked for, yet Allah gave them freely. The eyes with which you see, the ears with which you hear, the family around you, the friends who stood by you, the food on your table, the roof over your head, the times of joy that lifted your spirit. All of these are gifts that you did not earn, but were given out of His sheer mercy. If Allah has already given you so much without you even asking, how then can you doubt that He will continue to provide when you are actively calling upon Him in hardship? Remembering these blessings silences the whisper that tells you Allah has abandoned you, because the evidence of His care is written all over your life. Sometimes a person forgets how many times Allah saved them from harm that they were not even aware of. How many times did you narrowly escape danger on the road and you never thought twice about it? How many illnesses passed through others but were kept away from you? How many nights did you sleep safely while others faced calamities? These hidden blessings are just as important to remember because they remind you that Allah's protection is constant, even when you do not realize it. And if He has been protecting you all along, what makes you think He has suddenly stopped now? Remember also the times when you felt delayed, when you thought Allah was not answering your dua, but later you realized that the delay was for your own good. Perhaps you were denied something you desperately wanted at the time, but years later you saw the wisdom. Perhaps you lost something only to be given something better in return. Every believer can look back and see moments where disappointment turned into relief, where closed doors led to open ones. This reflection teaches you that even when you do not understand His plan in the present, You can trust that the wisdom will unfold later, just as it did before. Reflecting on past blessings also cultivates gratitude, and gratitude itself brings more blessing. Allah promises in the Qur'an, "If you are grateful, I will surely increase you." So when you recall the blessings of the past and thank Allah sincerely for them, you are actually opening the door for more blessings in the future. This is a spiritual cycle. Remembrance brings gratitude, gratitude brings increase, and increase brings hope. And hope is what carries you through hardship. The heart that forgets blessings becomes restless and filled with doubt. The heart that remembers blessings becomes calm and filled with certainty. That is why the Quran often calls on believers to remember and to reflect. These commands are not just about thinking of historical events, but about looking into your own life and recognizing how Allah has dealt with you. If He has always been merciful in the past, why would He stop being merciful now? If He has always provided, why would He withhold now? If He has always carried you, why would He drop you now? Every believer should make it a habit to pause during hardship and look back. Remember the times you smiled after crying. Remember the times you were healed after illness. Remember the times you were guided after being lost. Remember the times you received unexpected relief at the very moment you thought you could not continue. These memories are not random. They are reminders from Allah that His promise is true. With hardship comes ease. With patience comes reward. With trust comes relief. So do not let today's storm blind you to yesterday's sunshine. The same Lord who brought light into your life before will bring it again. Your past is full of evidence that Allah is with you. Hold on to that evidence and let it strengthen your faith as you move forward. Patience is one of the most powerful qualities that a believer can have, and yet it is also one of the most difficult to practice. When life is smooth and blessings are abundant, patience feels easy. But true patience shows itself when you are tested, when you are hurting, when the heart longs for immediate relief, but you choose to hold on with trust in Allah. In those moments, patience is not weakness. It is not passive resignation. It is strength, it is worship. It is an act of faith that can elevate you to levels you never imagined. Every moment you remain patient is a moment that Allah records as a deed that will shine on the day of judgment. Allah mentions in the Quran that He is with the patient. Imagine the honor of that statement. The Creator of the heavens and the earth promises His companionship to those who endure with Sabr. That alone should make the heart firm. Because to have Allah with you is to have everything you need, no matter how impossible the situation seems. Patience is not just about waiting for something to change. It is about how you behave while you are waiting. If your tongue is full of complaints, if your heart is full of despair, then that is not patience. But if your tongue remains guarded, if your heart continues to trust, and if your limbs continue to obey Allah despite the hardship, then you are practicing Sabr in the truest sense. Patience is so important because trials are temporary, but the reward for patience is eternal. A person may suffer in this world for a few months, a few years, or even their entire lifetime. But compared to the eternity of the hereafter, this time is nothing. Allah tells us that the patient will be rewarded without measure. Most deeds have a specific reward mentioned, but patience is limitless. This shows that the value of Sabr is beyond what we can imagine. It is not wasted, it is not forgotten, and it is not overlooked. The very tears you shed in silence, the very breaths you take while holding back frustration, the very nights you lie awake, trusting in Allah despite the pain. All of these are recorded and multiplied in reward. When we think of patience, we often think of enduring hardship. But patience also has other forms. It is the patience to remain steadfast in worship when laziness tempts you. It is the patience to stay away from sins when desires call you. It is the patience to control your anger when someone wrongs you. Every one of these forms of patience is rewarded, and every one of them brings you closer to Allah. But perhaps the most difficult and the most rewarding form of patience is the one you show during calamity. That is when your faith is tested in its purest form, because you are vulnerable, you are hurting, and yet you still choose Allah over everything else. It is natural to feel sadness during trials. Patience does not mean suppressing your emotions. Even the prophets cried, even they felt pain, but they did not lose trust in Allah. Prophet Yaqub lost his sight from grief over Yusuf, yet he said, "Patience is most fitting." This shows us that patience does not cancel grief. Rather, it transforms grief into worship. It means you acknowledge your pain, but you also acknowledge Allah's wisdom. You cry, but you cry to Allah, not against Him. You speak, but you speak in dua, not in complaint. That is the difference between despair and patience. Patience also brings inner strength, power. When you choose to be patient, you discover resilience inside you that you may not have known before. That resilience is a gift from Allah, and it grows stronger each time you practice it. Eventually, patience turns into contentment, and contentment turns into peace. This is why some people who have gone through immense hardship carry a light in their faces and a calmness in their hearts. It is not because their life is easy, but because their patience has transformed their relationship with Allah. They see trials not as punishments but as opportunities, and so their hearts are never broken by despair. The beauty of patience is that it always leads to something better. Sometimes the reward comes in this world, when Allah replaces what you lost with something greater. Sometimes it comes in the form of spiritual growth, wisdom, or strength of character. And sometimes it comes only in the hereafter, where the patient will be welcomed into Jannah and told to enter in peace because of the patience they showed. No matter how long the delay, patience never fails to produce benefit. When you are tempted to give up, remind yourself that every moment of patience is building your future with Allah. Do not think of it as wasted time. Think of it as an investment in eternity. Just as a farmer waits for the seeds to grow without digging them up every day to check, the believer waits for relief with patience, knowing that the outcome is already written and will come at the perfect time. If you rush the process, you harm yourself, but if you remain patient, you will see the fruits when Allah wills. So whenever hardship comes your way, remind yourself that patience is your shield. It protects your heart from despair. It protects your tongue from sin. And it protects your soul from giving up. With patience, you are never truly defeated, because even if the hardship remains, you are still gaining reward, still growing in faith, and still earning the companionship of Allah. Without patience, even the smallest problem feels unbearable. But with patience, even the heaviest burden becomes a means of elevation. May Allah make us among those who practice true patience, who endure hardship with trust, who stay away from sin with strength, and who remain steadfast in worship with consistency. May He grant us the reward of the patient and the peace that comes only from knowing He is with us in every trial. Dua is one of the greatest gifts Allah has given to the believer, and yet it is often the most underestimated. Many people see dua as a last resort, something to turn to when all else has failed. But in reality, dua should be the very first step in every matter of life. It is not simply words raised to the sky. It is the direct conversation between the servant and the Lord of the worlds. It is the believer's declaration of faith that Allah is in control, that He hears, that He sees, and that He can change anything in an instant. To make dua is to admit our weakness and acknowledge His absolute power. And that act alone is a form of worship that brings the believer closer to Allah, even before the request is answered. When a person raises their hands in dua during hardship, they are not only asking for relief, they are testifying that their situation is never beyond the mercy of Allah. This is why dua changes everything. Even if the problem remains, dua changes the heart. It softens it, strengthens it, and fills it with hope. A person who makes dua sincerely is never truly defeated, because their soul is connected to the one who holds all solutions. The Prophet told us that dua is worship, and this shows that it is not just about results, but about the act itself. Every time you make dua, you are fulfilling an act of worship, whether or not you see the outcome immediately. Often, impatience causes people to give up on dua data. They say, I have been asking for so long, but nothing has changed. This thought is itself a trick of Shaytan, who wants you to abandon your greatest weapon just before relief arrives. What many fail to realize is that every dua is answered in one of three ways. Sometimes Allah gives you exactly what you ask for right away. Sometimes He delays it until a time when it will be best for you. And sometimes He withholds it in this world in order to give you something better in the hereafter, or to protect you from a harm you cannot see. In all cases, your dua is never wasted. Not a single sincere supplication goes unheard, unrecorded, or unanswered. The only way to lose is to stop asking. Dua also changes the way a person views their hardship. When you pour out your heart to Allah, you realize that you are not alone. You realize that even if the entire world cannot help you, Allah can. You realize that even if people fail you, Allah never fails. This realization transforms despair into hope, because suddenly you understand that your problem is not in the hands of people, but in the hands of the most merciful. This shift alone can ease the heaviest burdens, because it places the matter in its proper place. There's also a unique sweetness in dua al-wal. When a believer cries to Allah in the stillness of the night, when they confess their fears, their sins, their weaknesses, and their hopes, there is a closeness to Allah that cannot be found anywhere else. Sometimes Allah delays answering because He loves to hear your voice. Sometimes He withholds because He wants you to keep turning back to Him until your heart is completely attached to Him. This is not a punishment, it is a mercy, because being close to Allah is more valuable than the relief you are asking for. Many people discover that by the time their dua is answered, the greatest gift they received was not the solution, but the relationship with Allah that was built through the asking. Dua is not restricted to times of hardship. It should be made in times of ease as well. When you thank Allah for His blessings and ask Him to preserve them, you are protecting yourself from future trials. The one who remembers Allah in times of ease will be remembered by Allah in times of difficulty. So never wait until disaster strikes to begin making dua. Make it a constant part of your life, a daily practice, a natural habit of the heart. In this way, when hardship does come, your tongue will already be trained and your heart will already be connected. Another important aspect of dua is sincerity. It is not about fancy words or long phrases. It is about the heart being present. Even a simple whisper of Ya Allah, help me, from a sincere heart is more powerful than hours of empty repetition. Allah knows your needs even before you ask. But He loves that you ask, because asking is a sign of servitude. So do not hold back. Ask for everything, big or small. Ask for forgiveness, for guidance, for strength, for peace, for the tiniest details of your life, because nothing is too small for the one who created everything. Dua is also a shield. It can protect you from harm that you never even knew was coming. How many calamities were averted because of a dua you made months or years before? How many times were you saved without realizing it? Only Allah knows. This is why you must never underestimate the unseen effects of dua. Just because you do not see the result does not mean nothing is happening. Allah may be redirecting harm away from you, opening doors silently, or preparing your heart for what is to come. The believer who lives with dua lives with hope. Even when the world turns dark, their heart carries light because they know they are never cut off from Allah. They do not rely on their own strength alone, nor do they put their trust in people. Their reliance is on the one who never fails, and that reliance brings a tranquility that no circumstance can take away. This is the true power of dua. It changes your connection with Allah, and once that changes, everything else in life feels different. So when you are tested, do not allow your tongue to fall silent. Keep calling, keep asking, keep believing. The one who answered your prayers before will answer them again. The one who lifted you before will lift you again. And even if the form of the answer is not what you expected, it will always be better than what you imagined, because it comes from the one whose mercy is infinite and whose wisdom is perfect. Dua truly changes everything. If not the situation, then surely the heart. And when the heart changes, the entire world feels different. Certainty in Allah is one of the greatest treasures a believer can hold in their heart. It is the quality that transforms fear into calm, sadness into hope, and confusion into clarity. When a person has full conviction that Allah is in control, that His plan is perfect, and that His mercy encompasses all things, their heart becomes steady, even in the most turbulent storm. This is because certainty in Allah is not about the absence of problems, but about the presence of peace within the problem. The one who trusts Allah completely sees life differently, because every gain and every loss is understood through the lens of divine wisdom. Many people live in a constant state of worry because they are uncertain about the future. They wonder what will happen tomorrow, how they will provide for themselves, how they will survive the challenges ahead. But the believer who carries certainty knows that tomorrow belongs to Allah, and so does today. They understand that the same Lord who carried them through the past will carry them through the future. This belief does not erase hardship, but it removes the despair that usually comes with it. It is despair that breaks people, not trials. When despair is removed through certainty, the heart can endure what the body struggles with. Certainty in Allah also means knowing that nothing in life is random. Every event, every meeting, every delay, and every hardship has been measured and planned with precision. When you truly believe this, you stop asking, "Why me?" and instead ask, "What can I learn? What is Allah teaching me? Where is He guiding me?" This shift in perspective changes pain into growth and turns obstacles into stepping stones. Without certainty, a trial feels like punishment. With certainty, the same trial feels like preparation for something greater. The prophets were the greatest examples of certainty. When Prophet Musa stood before the Red Sea with Pharaoh's army behind him, his people panicked and thought they were doomed. But Musa, filled with certainty, declared, "Indeed, my Lord is with me. He will guide me." That certainty opened a sea. When Ibrahim was thrown into the fire, he did not question Allah's plan. His certainty was so strong that Allah commanded the fire to be cool and safe for him. When Maryam was in pain during childbirth, alone and frightened, certainty in Allah gave her strength, and Allah provided for her in ways she could never have imagined. These stories are not just history. They are reminders for us that certainty can turn the impossible into reality. A heart without certainty is restless, always chasing answers, always doubting, always fearing. But a heart with certainty rests. It rests in the knowledge that what Allah decrees is always better, even if we do not understand it in the moment. This does not mean we will never feel sadness or worry, but it means those emotions will not consume us. Certainty acts like an anchor. The waves may rock us, but we will not be swept away. Certainty also strengthens patience. When you are certain that Allah sees your struggle, hears your prayers, and knows your pain, it becomes easier to wait. You are no longer waiting in despair. You are waiting with hope. You know that every second of patience is being recorded, every tear is being counted, and every difficulty is bringing you closer to relief. This kind of waiting is not empty. It is full of meaning because it is built on trust in the one who never breaks his promises. One of the most powerful results of certainty is inner peace. Many people think peace comes when problems disappear, but real peace comes when the heart accepts Allah's decree. That is why some people with very little in this world live with joy, while others with wealth and status live in misery. Peace is not found in possessions or circumstances. It is found in the certainty that Allah is enough. The believer who lives with this certainty can smile through tears, can hope through loss, and can keep moving forward even when the path is unclear. To cultivate certainty, one must constantly remember Allah's promises. The Qur'an is filled with reminders that Allah is with the believers, that He never burdens a soul beyond its capacity, that with hardship comes ease, and that His mercy is greater than His wrath. Reflecting on these promises strengthens the heart. Certainty also grows through experience. The more you look back at your life and recognize how Allah has carried you, the more confident you become in His plan for the future. Certainty is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. It is also important to protect certainty from doubt. Doubt creeps in when a person focuses only on what they see and forgets the unseen. But faith is built on the unseen. Certainty is not about having proof in front of your eyes. It is about trusting the one who sees what you cannot. When you remind yourself that Allah's knowledge is perfect while yours is limited, you learn to accept what you do not understand. This humility is a key ingredient of certainty. Ultimately, certainty in Allah transforms life itself. The world may still be full of challenges, but those challenges no longer control you. People may still disappoint you, but their actions no longer define your happiness. The future may still be unknown, but it no longer terrifies you. Because with certainty, you know that Allah is always with you, always guiding you, always protecting you, and always planning the best outcome. And with that knowledge, your heart can finally rest. May Allah fill our hearts with certainty in Him, remove from us every doubt, and grant us the peace that comes from trusting His perfect plan. My beloved brothers and sisters, life will always bring challenges. Tests are part of our journey, and doubt is one of Shaytan's sharpest weapons. But when we remember how many blessings Allah has already given us, when we remain patient, when we keep our hands raised in dua, and when we hold certainty that Allah's land is certainty, then no storm can truly break. Every trial becomes a means of growth. Every hardship becomes a doorway to mercy. And every moment of pain becomes a step closer to Allah. So stop doubting. Oh no! Believe in Allah during difficult times. Remind yourself that He has never left you, and He never will. Trust His wisdom, lean on His mercy, and wait for His relief with a heart full of hope. Because with Him, everything changes. The night will end, the dawn will come, and the believer who clings to Allah will always find light after darkness. May Allah grant us strength in hardship, gratitude in blessings, patience in trials, and certainty in His plan until the day we meet Him with hearts at peace. Ameen. Shaytan. Ameen. Thank you, everyone. Once